The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences. These are real people sharing very real, deeply personal experiences. This content may be considered triggering for others and for those who are sharing. The chat room is a privilege intended for discussions and sharing. You are not being asked to agree, but you are being asked to stay civil and refrain from personal attacks. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Am I Mental? A live podcast where people share stories about how mental health impacts life and life impacts mental health. I'm your host, E, and we got a blast from the past today. Your co-host is... Come on, introduce yourself.
Sorry.
She accidentally bumped mute. It's Bexy.
I'm off start today.
Yeah, you've been having fumble fingers since we started talking. You've disconnected once too, so.
I know. It's just not. My stupid fingers are out in force today.
All right, so yeah, welcome back, everybody. Oz is busy today. You know, life happens. I actually have a couple episodes I'm going to wind up missing. At least one this season, and at least one more next season because I have vacations coming up. Oz has already agreed to run with them. Also, my daughter's birthday party is coming up, and I'm not going to miss my daughter's birthday party, especially considering her birthday lands on this Saturday. So, yeah, not happening.
No way.
And, yeah, hi, Kat. See you in the chat. Welcome. Sorry it takes a little bit for it to come on. We were unable to secure a guest for tonight, but I have an absolutely wonderful guest for tomorrow. It's a friend of mine that I have known since the sandbox of preschool. She went through a hell that I wish upon nobody, and she's agreed to talk about it. Today, she's actually getting closure on the whole episode that happened. Which, of course, we all know closure is a wonderful thing. You don't always get it, but if you can, by all means, use it. It's amazing. But before we introduce today's topic, because we actually do have a good topic, Bexy came up with this brilliant idea, and we are going to run with it because it's very relevant, especially considering the goals of what we're trying to do here. But before we get started, like the episode, follow us, subscribe, whatever your platform happens to be in order to keep us on, that way we get some little bit of love there. Maybe get caught up in some algorithms and start showing up in other people's stuff more often for recommendations. Also, if you know anybody that may be having an issue or you have an episode that really sings to you or you think might sing to them, share it. That's the best way that you could help us. On top of that, if you want to give us some financial support so that way we can keep paying the bills to keep the lights on in this place, mimental.net/donate. There's a number of ways that you could donate. And we have a Teespring store so you can buy some products. I will never stop talking about the tote bags because they are pretty awesome. They're rugged. I've had mine now for about a year and a half now, and the thing is still, it's taken a beating and it's still going strong. It's really well made. But yeah, help us out, share us, get us out there. And help us to break down this stigma that surrounds mental health and help others realize that they're not alone. And speaking about the stigmas behind mental health, hey, Bexy, you want to introduce today's topic?
Sure. So today I had the idea that we need to talk about the myth surrounding mental health, and not just any myths. We need to talk about some of the most dangerous myths surrounding mental health. Sorry. And the first, topic that I'd like to start on is the fact that there are still people, many, many people, who think that mental health issues are not common. And especially, I will say that I think that it's maybe especially true for people in my generation, because when we grew up, you didn't talk about it. You didn't dare, show somebody that you were having a rough time mentally because you were going to be labeled as the crazy kid.
And just to throw a number out there, this is coming from the National Institute of Health. In the United States, it is estimated that more than 1 in 5 U.S. adults live with a mental illness. Their number was 57.8 million people in 2021.
And the rates of conditions like anxiety and depression are actually on the rise for kids and teens now, which is absolutely scary. The world is a different place from what it was in the past, and with the pandemic and everything else going on around us, there's no wonder that so many more people are coming forward and saying, yes, I'm having these struggles and I was afraid to talk about it. I'm so grateful whenever somebody will come forward and say, hey, I think I need some help. Because there has been an escalation in people who didn't have any conditions before the pandemic, and now they're developing symptoms for the first time. And there's also a lot of people who have had pre-existing mental health conditions that are having relapses of their symptoms since the pandemic started.
Right.
And that is, let's see, the share of high school students who reported persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness has increased by 40% to more than 1 in 3 students. And suicidal behaviors among high school students have heightened, they've been raised about 36% in the same decade.
And Alice in the chat actually pointed out a great thing. Said, and that's probably diagnosed.
Yes.
Where these numbers are coming from. So many aren't. And she said up until recently that she stayed in silence. When I put in the chat, now how many millions suffer in silence? I mean, it's
right.
not. I mean, just from my own personal experience, I can't tell you how many women in my family, they bottle it up until they get into the shower and then they cry it out. That is not healthy. That's dangerous in and of itself, and that's not even a myth.
It's not healthy, and I was one of those. I would cry in the shower because nobody could see it.
Yep.
Because you're not supposed to show that weakness, and in some cases you would get made fun of for that weakness. And I mean, who wants that? You're already having mental health struggles, and then people who don't understand what you're going through are adding on top of it and making you feel even worse about this torrent of emotion that's running through you.
Why are your eyes red? Oh, I got soap in my eyes. That's the lie.
Yeah. Oh, it was shampoo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, there's another a myth that goes around, which is if no one notices you're depressed, you must be fine.
Exactly.
No, just because no one notices you're depressed doesn't mean that they didn't notice you. They just may not have said anything. And those that didn't notice, it might be because you're really good at putting on a mask, or they're wrapped up in their own issues.
There are kids out there who can maintain their grades, maintain their social presence. They can act like everything is great, and it doesn't mean that they're not hurting deep down, and they just push it down because they put on that happy face.
Well, do you remember season 2 when we had Brittany, that teacher from Colorado?
Yes.
And the students that surprised her that attempted suicide or actually committed suicide? They were the first to school, last to leave, popular with everyone, happy, straight A student. It seemed that they have their lives together. And then gone.
Yeah. And I mean, people are so afraid to, let others know that they're struggling. And it's hard even for people who have dealt with it and they're doing better. And even for me, there are some days where it's hard for me to say, you know what, this is a really bad mental health day for me. I just try to smile and go on. And that's not the healthiest thing to do. Eventually, I end up breaking down and calling E.
I'm always there for you. I'm always there for you.
Always. I know. Everybody wants to project that image of having it all together. Everybody wants to seem, smart and confident and competent. And there's nothing saying that you are not all of those things while you're suffering from a mental illness. You are absolutely as smart as you were, as smart as you are, even if your brain makes you feel like you aren't. You are absolutely worthy of your life and your existence, even when your brain does not make you feel like you are.
Exactly.
I have said it for a long time. Depression is a liar. Anxiety is a liar.
They are.
And all they do is they trick you into thinking that you're so much less than you are.
And Alice said, up until recently, my friends figured I was doing okay. I finally broke down and told my best friend that I wasn't okay, and she's been phenomenal being there for me. And I said, I'm glad you have such a great best friend. And she's all, me too. She's the one who came and watched the kids for me when I was the guest the other week.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like I said it in the chat, and I'll say it here in the podcast too. Thank her for me. Because you were a phenomenal guest.
I mean, and there's another... I'm not quite sure how to word this one, but a third myth that I think needs to be discussed is that depression and mental health issues are not contagious, and I think that there's a little bit of
yeah. Well, I was just reading about that, where people think that mental health can be contagious. No, it is not. It's not a pathogen.
Just because you spend time with someone who is upset or depressed, and yeah, there can be a chance that it can make you feel a little bit down as well. But that's because humans tend to feed off of other people's emotions. We're energetic beings, so sometimes you're able to, latch onto that. This is why I call E my human Prozac. Because I know if I'm feeling really bad, his energy and his mood will instantly lift me up. I will feel better by the time we hang up the phone, and it's better than any antidepressant I've ever had. I love you too, bro.
Sending you heart hands. Yeah, and you picked me up too. And there's been those conversations where we're both really down.
Yeah.
And we may hang up the phone still down, but not as down as we were.
Exactly.
When they say misery loves company, it's not kidding.
It's not kidding, and it's so good to be able to have those people that can empathize and support you. And, I tell people all the time, you never know who that person is going to be. I had no idea when I met this man many, many moons ago that we would have this sort of kindred relationship. But, for us, it works. And it's just absolutely one of the most amazing friendships I've ever had. It's going to be a friendship that I take to my grave with me. You're
getting my credentials to my social media, so if I die before you, you're going to be able to troll the shit out of people. Talk about the flames of hell for me.
This devil dog won't stop biting my toes.
Rainbow just climbed up my butt and
hot dog water. No.
Rainbow just climbed up my leg and bit me in the butthole. So Alice said something awesome in here, which was, my grandma claimed mental illness skipped a generation. So her generation was clear, and so was my generation, but the middle ones were like bad. She was like, oh, hell no. All struggling and we were all struggling and undiagnosed. And I'm like, yeah, it seems to me that the people that seem to have had their generation skipped with mental illness were the most mental of them all. Just saying.
Right?
I can't be crazy. It skipped me. Yeah, that's not how that works.
right?
And Kat did say one thing: it's not contagious, but definitely hereditary. And yeah, you could definitely be predispositioned for a lot of different mental health conditions. I mean, chemical imbalances are due to your genetics. Let's be honest. I mean, your diet can help, exercise, sunlight. There's a lot of other factors as well, but the baseline, genetics.
Yes, exactly. You know, and if you do spend time with someone who is struggling with a mental health condition and you notice that it's, starting to trigger like similar symptoms in you, then you have a couple of options that you can do. You can establish boundaries between yourself and the friend if you need to. It is okay for you to put up those boundaries and say, you know what, we are friends and I care about you. But when things start negatively affecting my mental health, I need to take a step back for a moment.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And I'm going to take it a step further and say that that's not exclusive to just friends, family, and even like I have a friend right now that's going through something like that with their only child, and they have to put up a boundary because their child is, let's just say, things are not okay.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're cutting off their child. They're like, look, I can't do this. It's like,
okay to seek the help when you feel that way.
Yeah.
It is okay to realize you have just as much right to support as the person who is suffering.
Yeah.
It's and usually, open and honest communication will help people feel more comfortable and more supported. But like I said, you can say, I know you're really struggling and this is difficult, and I want to be able to talk more about this with you, but I'm also dealing with some of my own struggles. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with telling somebody that. There's absolutely nothing wrong if you're having a bad day and you can't talk and a friend calls you. There's nothing wrong with sending a text message saying, hey, I can't talk today. I'm not in that place. Goodness knows I've done that.
Right. And Alice just really brought up something. This is another myth. This one has to do, and I'm not saying that's a mental health issue. This is just a mental, this is who you are thing. Autism and then the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a mental health issue. You're just wired differently.
Exactly.
There is no cure for autism. There's no meds that could magically fix things. So let's stop acting like there is. And it's a genetic thing. Nothing is causing it. The moment of conception is when it is determined whether or not you're going to be on the spectrum based on how the genes lay out and when you go to epigenetics, which genes express and which ones don't. A really good joke I had was a anti-vaxxer died and went to heaven and met God and finally realized I get to finally ask the question. It's like, okay, what causes autism? Is it vaccines? And God said autism is not created by vaccines. Autism is determined by genetics at the moment of conception. And at that moment, she gets sucked back to life again due to the heroic efforts of people on Earth. And she comes back, and wakes up, and she's in the hospital, and a bunch of her anti-vax friends come up, and they go, so are you okay? Okay. She's like, hey, look, I talked to God. And they're like, oh, and what did God say? He's like, well, the whole thing about that vaccines cause autism, the cover-up goes up way higher than we thought.
Oh, goodness.
And Alice did put another one. If you're on the spectrum, there's a high possibility of a secondary diagnosis like ADHD, ADD, ODD, etc.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and even everyone's condition and genetics and how their brain works is a little bit different, which is why, you need different types of treatment for different things, mental health wise. Then there are Or things like, and I've had this said to me, and I think it's one of the most damaging things that has ever been said to me about my mental health. Individuals with depression or anxiety can snap out of it if they try hard enough.
We are seeing the same exact article.
Probably.
Let me pull up a different one.
Yeah.
But no, these are, I mean, regardless, these are really serious people say this kind of crap. And it's just, come on. You can't just snap out of it. It doesn't work
Right.
that way.
It's
They just said, hey, just stop being depressed. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that, oh wise one.
Oh yes, do you think I intentionally want to put myself through this hell every day? I can just snap out of it. Do you mean it? Do you really mean it? I can snap my fingers and it'll be gone. Oh my god, I didn't know.
Now, there is something to be said that if you have depression and anxiety, trying to push through it in a healthy way can help combat it.
Yes, and trying to keep a positive outlook about things. Do you know what I tell myself on my worst days? It's just a bad day. It's not a bad life.
Exactly.
Because everybody has bad days. Some of us have more bad days than others. And whether your bad day stems from having a mental health issue or having a physical chronic pain issue or a sickness issue, whatever it is, there is always some light somewhere, because there are people out there who will reach out to you and who will help you.
I got a piglet stuffed animal from someone because of a comic about basically
Piglet and
depression.
poop.
Yeah. It was like, okay, I know you don't want to talk, but I'll just sit here and keep you company.
Yeah.
And Alice right now she is dropping some funny ass shit in the chat right now. If you're not in the chat, you should be, because my God, she is just cracking me up. I'm trying really hard not to laugh out loud, because we're having a serious discussion here. The chat has serious comedy, just back and forth, and I love it. It feeds into my ADHD brain well.
We really try not to judge people for having other types of medical illnesses, but people with mental health conditions do get unfairly judged a lot.
They do. And
it's because of the shameful stigma that surrounds mental health in general. And
right.
Another.
Well, I was just going to say another one that's another myth. People with mental health issues are violent or dangerous.
Or just plain crazy.
I mean, some people can be, whether they have mental health issues or not. That's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But I mean, can someone with high anxiety potentially lash out more often than someone without? Well, yeah, if that's how they respond to their anxiety. Right. Some people with their anxiety curl up in a little ball, flop to their side, and start sobbing uncontrollably. Some people, they just turn around and walk away, just completely withdrawn. It's people are people.
Right. I am very much the curl up in a ball in the fetal position or sink down against the wall and make myself small when I have a bad anxiety. At the worst, when mine is at my worst, I am curled up in my bed under the covers, completely covered from head to toe in the dark, and trying to breathe through it, because
just don't fart while you do that.
Yeah, you laugh. I've done that. It's not funny.
As she laughs about it.
Well, I mean, it's funny, but at the moment it wasn't funny.
Well, no. In the moment.
In the moment, and honestly, in that moment, it kind of snapped me out of it, because my mind thought, I can't believe you're in the middle of an anxiety attack and you just blasted gas and Dutch oven yourself.
Yeah, Alice just said Dutch oven. It's like with me, with my anxiety, when I get overwhelmed, I get loud, I get aggressive, and if it's bad enough, I'll put my fist through a wall. But I'm doing it in a way, I'm trying to disengage. No, it's not healthy, the way that I deal with it. I'm trying to be better about it. I'm trying to be like, look, I'm overwhelmed. I need to be left alone. I need to take a walk, or I need to take a shower, or I need to go and write some music, or I need to go. I need to go. I need
Right.
to go.
Sometimes the simplest thing can help snap you out of one of those attacks, though, like taking a walk. Or I've read that some people, when they feel anxiety coming on, they'll pop an ice cube in their mouth because it sends a different signal to the brain. And it kind of makes your brain switch gears so you're not thinking about the anxiety anymore. And, I guess, for me, giving myself a Dutch oven kind of snapped me out of it. I'm not doing that. I'm not having an anxiety attack, though, because it was,
Alice asked if I should get a punching bag. I'm like, I want one, but my garage is too much of a wreck for that. It's a big storage facility is what it is. Need to go through and just throw everything away. Oh, and Alice just said fidget toys could be a blessing. I actually have these magnetic fidget rings that are pretty awesome to play with.
I have stress balls that are filled with the Orbeez.
Oh, yeah.
And they're well, here's one of my stress balls. This is a plush one. Little plush penguin. That's squishy. I named it after a friend of mine because it has big, beautiful eyes like she does, and I call it Vanya.
I love Vanya. She's so sweet.
And then I have this one with the Orbeez in it.
Nice.
I like the noise it makes when I squeeze it is comforting to me. It's like an ASMR kind of thing, all with my stress ball.
Of course, my best stress ball I have is my Sadie dog.
Oh, I love Sadie dog.
I lay down, and she'll come up, and she'll put her head under my chin and put her whole back against my torso, and I just flop a leg and an arm over her, and she just groan. And I'm just like, oh, there's that oxytocin release. Thank you, Sadie. You're the best. Alice,
I love that.
You said stress balls, and she thought you were saying stretch balls.
Oh, I think that's a whole different category.
I always love this one. This one I've always been like, are you just like, no, just no. When someone develops a mental health problem, they will have it for the rest of their lives and they will never recover.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Not true.
Not true.
Not true. Oh, do you know another one that gets me? All of your problems will disappear once you start going to therapy.
No.
Not true.
No.
And therapy is a valuable tool that can help you develop the coping skills to, navigate all the stressors that cause, some of the issues, but it will not cure you. Not like it doesn't mean that it will cure you. Getting through all of these things is going to be different for every person.
Yeah. And I mean, there are some some of us, like me, have conditions that are permanent.
Right.
But
I mean, there are conditions.
I can lessen their impact on my life to where they're not in the way. And that matters. I went to a anxiety treatment center here in my town. And one of the things that we heard all the time there, and it's something that's become part of like a mantra of my own, is I have mental illness. Mental illness does not have me.
Yeah.
And Alice brought up a great point. You got and working through those things can make you feel worse until you've gotten through. And that's true. I mean, one of the greatest examples, anxiety. Facing anxiety is anxiety inducing. It is so counterintuitive in that regard because in order to help your anxiety, you have to make it worse. Is what it feels like.
Yeah.
But again, with that anxiety treatment center, one of the analogies they use a lot, which was for cognitive behavioral therapy, is you spent all this time going through this meadow, taking a certain path. It's a well-worn path, beaten down nicely. You know every nook and cranny, but it always takes you to an unhealthy place. What you need to do is start blazing a trail through the field to a new destination, which is a healthy place. But along the way, you have to go through the tall grass, trip over the stones, trip over the rocks, trip over the branches, have the roots snagging you, have the undergrowth snagging and tangling you. And you're not going to know every step of the way. And you could get hurt a little bit in the process. But eventually, the more you keep forcing yourself to go down this path to a healthy conclusion or healthy place, it starts becoming second nature. The grass starts moving, starts parting for you. You start beating down a path. It starts becoming hard-packed dirt. You start to know all the rocks, all the nooks, all the crannies, all the pitfalls. And you know to where you get to, it's second nature for you to get to a healthy place. And when you look at your old path, it's overgrown and dangerous again. It takes work. And no, getting a pill is not going to magically fix things. It can make it easier to deal with almost immediately. And by almost immediate, usually takes, it could take a few weeks for the effects to kick in. Oh, you get the side effects right away. You get the benefits later.
Right.
But they're also not going to fix you.
I almost stopped taking my antidepressant in the first 2 weeks because the side effects were so severe, and I got the weird side effects from my antidepressant.
Yeah, her left ear kept wiggling really fast. It was the weirdest damn thing. That would be really weird, though.
It would be. No, my weird side effects are, one of them I still have, or actually 2 of them I still have. To this day, they will occasionally still happen. It's uncontrollable jaw clenching. And it happens in my sleep. If I'm especially stressed, I will wake up and have like the worst feeling in my jaw. They're so tight and so sore because I've been clenching and grinding my teeth all night. It got so bad to the point where I had to wear mouth guards at night to stop it from happening. And the other one is uncontrollable yawning. This strikes me at any moment of the day. I can be perfectly fine, perfectly awake, and I start yawning and I won't stop. It'll happen 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times in a row. Thank you, Celexa.
Yeah, Alice was in there saying there are a lot of conditions that you will have for life. You don't grow out of it, but there are things you can do so you don't struggle as much. Exactly. Also, like writing about my childhood was horrible. Realizing I was never allowed to be a kid, I was forced to grow up. I wasn't allowed to have any mental health disorders, so my inner child was hurt. My inner teen is pissed that all those things happened when I didn't know better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the power of journaling. I just suck at it. I did my best when I was in the anxiety treatment center because that was, I was there 3 days a week and I had to journal each time I went there. Had to.
See, I can't do the journal thing. Oh, but I can throw down in a poem about it. That's my form of journaling.
Alice was also saying that she yawns a crap ton and always clenches her jaw at night as well. And honestly, when it comes down to the medication, if we touched on it, one of the myths I've heard, I believed myself, is that when you're on the meds, that's not the real you. You're no longer the real you. You're a mutant, medicated zombie of who you truly are. And that is just a very unfair and unrealistic way to look at it. Now, can the meds alter the way that you think and behave? Absolutely. That's kind of the point. But you are still you. At the core, you are still there.
I will tell you what, I am more alive now on an antidepressant than I ever was before I had one. I was a zombie before I got proper treatment. Before I started dealing with my own issues, before I started taking them seriously and realizing that, everything that I had been told about mental health was basically a lie. I didn't have to hide it. It was okay that I didn't feel good all the time. It was okay that I wasn't happy 24 hours a day. And who really is? I don't know why I was expected to be, but it felt like I was. And getting the help that I needed has changed everything. And you can see it in my eyes.
Oh yeah, you've showed those pictures before, the before
I
and
have.
after.
I have. I had dead eyes.
Yep, and Alice just said it. So there are some medications that can alter your behavior, yes. But there are also some where you feel, and in quotes, which is true, more like yourself. It's a matter of finding the right medications and doses. And that takes time. It takes time. It takes you to really work on your self-awareness, being honest with yourself, and being honest with your doctor. And it is really easy to find the right med, but the wrong dose. And have to adjust the dosing. It's also really easy to find the wrong med, like me with Effexor. For me, that's just the devil. Worst medication I've ever taken. It's a godsend for my wife. It's the best medication for her. But for me, I had a borderline dystonic reaction to it. It was so awful. I had never felt that bad in my life. And I mean, I felt worse on that med than COVID ever made me feel. Than influenza A ever made me feel.
Yeah, that is really, 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 it's really scary to think about having to go through that. And I know people who have gone through so many meds until they found the right one. And then I also know people, I happen to be one of those people who got extremely lucky and the first med they tried worked.
Yeah, and you know what? Sure, there's a little bit of me that's envious. But, I mean, who wouldn't be that's gone through the hell of getting the wrong meds? But at the same time, so happy for you. You got it on the first try. Congratulations. That is awesome. You don't have to suffer through what it's like to have the wrong med. I don't wish that upon anyone. But yeah, you better believe I'm envious of the people that get it the first time. Oh, very envious.
Right. I can completely understand that. You know, and
oh man, Alice, man, why are you not on this podcast? I know you have kids and you go through pink eye stuff. I get it. And just because you find the right med doesn't mean it will always be the right one.
Exactly.
Paxil was the right one for me for a while, until it wasn't, and I found myself in a tub of hot water with a knife. Cymbalta was the right one for years, until it wasn't, because I started emotionally flatlining. Your own chemistry changes, and if your chemistry changes, the way meds interact with you changes.
Yes.
Alice is laughing, saying they're actually being quiet right now. They have their iPads. You know what happens, Alice, is you get on the podcast and start sharing this stuff, and they're going to be suddenly needing your help with the iPads or whatever.
Oh, look. Mom is on the phone.
Yep.
It's time to go ask 50 questions.
This myth. This one, I don't know if there's another myth out there that makes me more angry than this one. Therapy is a waste of time.
I was just about to bring that up too. Yeah. No. You know, yeah, therapy is a waste of time. Just take the medication and deal. No. Therapy can be one of the most valuable tools that you ever utilize. And therapy can come in a lot of different forms. I have not seen a therapist myself. But I have done some forms of therapy that have helped me greatly. I've done some immersion therapy because I was terrified of thunderstorms. I can now walk outside into a thunderstorm and not feel any anxiety. My biggest goal is to sit on a front porch somewhere with some iced tea and my
Yes.
And watch a great big thunderstorm roll through with all the lightning and all the thunder and the downpour and maybe go jump in some puddles.
Oh, hell yeah!
Because I freaking can.
Hell yeah! I used to build dams, and because we lived at the bottom of a hill, so all the runoff would come to our yard. And my sister and I, we would build up these mud dams in order to make puddles, and these puddles could last for like days on end. Hell, they lasted so long that a couple of times I was able to get water striders that just found their way to the puddle, which was fucking amazing.
That's cool.
But Alice did point out one thing. If you aren't willing to put in the work, yeah, therapy could be a waste of time.
Exactly.
Again, you only get out of therapy what you put into it. And most here's a little thing that says on this article about it. It's like some people may not be comfortable with therapy. They're afraid they'll have to go back into their childhoods. And you know what? If you had a rough childhood, that's a scary thing to face. But modern therapy is designed to be more short-term. It focuses on problems and solutions. Research has shown that it is very effective in treating mental illness. It's usually most effective when used in combination with medicine. Studies found that between 70% to 90% of people reported an improvement in their symptoms when both were part of their treatment plan. And I can't tell you how much I've had some therapists that are like anti-meds, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go find another therapist. I'm not exactly like medicate all the things, but I want one that has a more realistic approach that, hey, you know, you can get so far with therapy, but if we hit a brick wall where we need to address a chemical imbalance, then we're going to need the meds in order to continue going forward.
Yeah.
That sounds rational and reasonable to me.
Do you know, there's another myth about mental health that I think is important to discuss, and that's that senior citizens don't get depressed. It's just an expected part of aging. No, it's not.
If you ever met my grandma, my paternal grandmother, until dementia got its evil clutches on her, man, she was old as hell, happy as could be. Always just spry, full of energy, full of life, full of love. Always telling jokes. Always wanting to play board games. Loved watching her Giants baseball and 49er football. She would yell and scream at the TV like anyone else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just because you're old does not mean that you have to be depressed.
Right? 5 million older Americans suffer from clinical depression and account for about 20% of all suicides.
I believe it.
You know, it's people who say it's not depression, you're just going through a phase. I hate that.
Yeah. And Alice just said something really profound again. She just blown up the chat. I can't read everything, but I'm reading out like the best parts. Like I did 2 years of marriage therapy counseling, and it did nothing because the ex didn't do the work. Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, if your marriage is already that way where you're doing all the work and they're not, well, sorry, it's a doomed marriage. And if you've had a difficult childhood, most therapy is now validating everything you've had to endure. It's true. If you're afraid to go and revisit your past because it was crap, well, guess what you're going to hear? Yeah, that was crap. Let's deal with it.
Yeah. Another myth. Insurance doesn't need to cover mental health because it's not a big problem. This is bull crap.
50 million Americans every year says otherwise.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Right. I mean, and you don't even have to go to, you know, a therapist or anything to get medication for your depression or anything like that. You can talk. I don't think people realize you can talk to your primary care doctor. That's what I did. And I told him, you know, I am not feeling right, and I haven't been for a long time. And I am recognizing that there is something in my brain that is not letting me be happy. Even when I have happy news, I couldn't feel happy about it. And, you know, now I can squeal and scream with the best of them when I'm happy.
And you were basically on a high the whole time I was with you, that whole 7 hours.
Oh my
What
God,
a
that was so
glorious
amazing.
7 hours.
God. Best thing that's happened this year.
Alice just said, my grandpa, he broke his arm at 90 because he was trying to put on the sock standing, and he was furious as hell. What did he continue to do after his arm healed? Standing up while putting on his socks. And her grandma, on the other hand, actually started giving up. Because, yeah, as you get older, you start losing your mobility. You start losing your freedom. You can start losing control over your own bodily functions. Food should start tasting more bland. I mean, there's a lot of things that do change. And it's up to you on what are you going to focus on. Are you going to focus on what you've lost, or are you going to focus on what you still have?
Right.
That's a big part of it. This is one that... Another angering one. There's nothing I can do to help someone with a mental health problem. Are you fucking kidding me? People actually believe that. Alice, up until his early 80s, he ran 10 miles a day. By the time he was 90, we had no idea where he was because he was so many miles away. But he did realize as he got older he couldn't keep running the 10 miles, so he dropped it down to 4. But still, that's awesome. Now, what were you going to say about there's nothing you could do to help someone with a mental health issue? We already addressed this one earlier. What do you do when you're having a mental health day?
Reach out to somebody.
And what happens?
I feel better by the time I get done talking to them.
And does it
unburdening myself makes me feel better.
And does it truly matter who you talk to if they listen?
If they listen, no. I know the people that I can call that will listen. But sometimes, if it's just a little thing, sometimes just this is where the myth about social media and mental health, comes in too, because a lot of people say social media is bad for your mental health, and it really can be. But sometimes social media is a godsend for your mental health.
It's only as dangerous to your mental health as the stuff that you are getting yourself involved with.
Yes. I have used social media as an outlet to vent frustrations and, have received support from social media, from people on social media and things like that. And it is a wonderful tool that when utilized correctly can really help you make it feel like you're not alone.
All right. So I'm going to read this because this is something actually it's relevant right now with what we're talking about, I believe.
Okay.
It was posted by a friend on their Facebook feed who also has access to post things on the podcast Facebook page. So, of course, when I saw what they posted, I was like, wow, it'd be great if someone were to post this on our Facebook page. And they posted, this one has been on my mind for a bit. When someone is having a rough time and comes to you, don't pull out the, well, if it makes you feel any better, and let them know about the shithole thing you're going on in your life. You are dismissing them and their feelings by doing so. And honestly, when I come to you when I feel like my life is crashing down around me, it doesn't make me feel any better that bad things are happening to you too. And we had a really good conversation about it. On her page, not necessarily the Facebook or the podcast page.
Right.
But I was one of those people that I would be like, I come and say, well, here's are my problems that I'm having. But I wasn't trying to dismiss you or your feelings. I was trying I understand that you're going through some shit. I'm also going through some shit. Let's sit down and talk. I'm here for you.
Right. I come from the stance that sometimes hearing about someone else's issues helps me work through mine.
Yeah, it lightens the burden. But I also can see where someone could be like, well, you're trying to just, you're doing. There's better ways to word it, is what I've come to learn. And also, right. I also would use, like, if I don't have it in me to be able to help you because I am drowning in my own shit, I should say that instead. I'm sorry.
Right.
I would love to help you. I'm in such a bad place right now that I can't help you.
And sometimes that's hard for people, especially, ones who advocate for, the mental health and the ones that are always there. I will be there for you if you need me. It's hard for someone to say, I'm sorry, I can't be there for you right now. Like,
Yeah,
because you feel like a fraud and a liar, and you don't mean it that way at all, but you really do have to take care of yourself before you can help others.
exactly. And it's not that I don't care. If I have to say I can't right now, I do care.
Yeah.
If I didn't care, I would pretend to be there for you and not actually really be there for you, which would only make things worse. But I'm going to be honest and be like, look, I for my own mental health, I can't be there for you right now. I am sorry.
Right.
Sadly, I did lose a good friend over that. They're still alive, just we're not friends anymore. Because they couldn't... I wasn't good enough at communicating that I was not in a position to be able to help. And they were in a really bad place too. And they were just like, well, if you can't be there for me 100%, then this is over. Or with our friendship. And I was like, that's not how... That's pretty... I don't know. That felt really selfish to me. I don't mean any ill will towards them. But it's like, if there's two people who are suffering and they can't be there for each other, that doesn't mean that they can't still be friends. It just means that they weren't able to be there for each other at that time.
Right.
It happens. It sucks, but it happens. And Alice was saying, kind of where I was coming to, sharing a story that relates to yourself is how you show that you relate to the other. A lot of people don't mean to be rude about it, even though it is considered rude. But like I was saying, it's just maybe try finding a better way of wording it. Because I can see if you start, someone comes to you and they're at their wits' end, they're overburdened, and they're trying to lessen their burdens by trying to get at least someone to listen, and you turn around and dump on them too. Yeah, it could feel shitty.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm trying to find better ways of saying it.
That's... Human beings have great capacity for change. Not every human being will always utilize that. But, you can always, if someone were to come to you and say, okay, hey, I don't mean to stop you there, but I don't need to hear your story right now when I'm trying to tell you mine. And you know what? I'm sorry, because it wasn't my intention to cut you off or make you feel like you weren't being valued or listened to or anything like that. I was trying to be relatable, and I'm going to work on bettering myself and not doing that in the future.
Right. And then Alice was saying, but with, say, her being on the spectrum, ADHD, etc., doesn't always have the best tact. And that's fair. If you're my friend, and I know this about you, yeah, I'll take that into consideration. Plus, just my natural disposition is if someone comes to me for help, I want to help. I don't want to burden them. I want to help lighten their burdens. And I don't want them to feel that they're burdening me, because by me helping, it helps me with my own.
Right.
It's one of those things like, I just helped lighten your burdens. Holy shit, that wasn't all that hard. How can I apply that to me? Hey, my burdens are a little bit less now. That was pretty awesome.
Right. I mean, I've had conversations where I'm so frustrated at the start, and by the time that I vent and I get all my feelings out, and I know that somebody has listened to me, and I've listened to them and asked for advice, and they've given me advice, and we trade ideas. And by the end of the whole conversation, I feel so much better. And, I've had them respond with, my God, that really helped. Just sitting and hashing out things together.
And it's like, are your burdens truly lessened by it all? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not.
It feels lighter.
feels lighter, and that matters.
It does. It does. It absolutely does. Because your outlook on your mental health goes a long way in determining, whether the day is good or bad. I used to sit and think I would wake up and feel depressed and not want to do anything, not want to get out of bed, and not want to go through with things. And I would do it, but it was like being on autopilot.
Yeah.
And now, when I feel that way, if I stop and I think about what's really bothering me, maybe I talk to somebody about it, maybe I write something about it, I do something positive to positively affect my mental health, and that will snowball from there. And every day will get better and better until I realize, oh my God, I'm having great days.
Yeah.
All because, I've changed the way that I deal with the depression and with the anxiety. And I don't let it take me, even though some days it's hard, I don't let it take me down the dark path. Like you said, you walk through the meadow, but you blaze your own trail.
Right. And another thing that really helps too is, and I mean, it sounds so cliche because you hear it. You're starting to hear it more and more. The attitude of gratitude.
Yes.
The more things that you find to be thankful for, just naturally that helps lift your burdens. It helps you feel a little bit better. Even if it's as small as, hey, you know what? I got up and I ate something. I took care of myself by eating something. And I had the ability to do that.
Celebrate those small goals. Oh, I brushed my teeth today. I took a shower. I put on clean clothes. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, especially not to start out with.
Even if it's my clothes were dirty, but I have clothes. You know what? You have clothes.
Right?
It's something. It's a starting point.
And it's celebrate those little victories, because the little victories can add up to big victories. If you have one little victory one day, then maybe the next day you can think, oh, maybe today I can have 2 little victories, or maybe even 3. And if you don't, that's fine. As long as, if you have one little victory every day, count that as a good thing.
And Alice said, I've heard writing 3 small positives. Every therapist that I've had has recommended that.
Starting your day.
Every day when you wake up, think of, you don't necessarily even have to write them down. It helps, but find 3 things from the previous 24 hours that you're thankful for. It doesn't matter how small it is.
No.
3 things that you've accomplished. 3 things that you're thankful for. Did a load of laundry. And put them away in the same day. That could count as 2.
Right? I mean, you know what? You can break that down. You can count that as several things. I washed a load of clothes. I put the clothes in the dryer. I folded them when they came out of the dryer. I put them away. Look at all the things that you've done. Look at what you accomplished.
And don't try to belittle yourself by going, well, all I did was laundry. Well,
no.
Everything is a collection of small victories for every major victory. Always.
Yes. Another thing that I think is important, and I wish, self-care. Self-care is so important. And a lot of us don't, we didn't, self-care is not something that I ever heard of until the last, like 5 to 8 years or so. I don't know, somewhere around there. Like, I never thought of self-care as a thing. And it doesn't have to be a big self-care thing. It can be making yourself a cup of hot tea at the end of the day and relaxing for a little bit. Listening to your favorite songs for 30 minutes.
And even if you're having, like, the worst day imaginable, if taking a shower feels like too much, can you go and just sit under the water for a little bit? You don't need to wash. Just go sit under the water. You know how good that feels?
Oh, it feels so good.
And you know what? You may find yourself while you're in that water grabbing the shampoo. You never know. You know how dishwashers, if you happen to have one, they don't always get your food clean. But pre-washing your dishes is a serious pain in the ass. And it can feel like it's an insurmountable task. Well, can you at least just load the dishwasher no matter how dirty the dishes are? There's no law that says you can only run the dishwasher once.
That's true.
Sometimes run it 2 or 3 times and it takes care of it. And honestly, dishwashers have gotten so efficient with water usage lately that you probably use more water in your pre-washing than your dishwasher uses in its full washing cycle.
Probably. You know, I have.
And Alice was just saying about just stand in the water. It works. It fucking works.
I have a self-care box that's filled with things that I enjoy. It has.
It's mostly chocolate. Oh, that's me.
No,
that's mine.
Mine, honestly, mine has bath bombs in it, and it has face masks for your face, bubble bath. Little things, you know, a couple of nice smelling candles and things like that, because I enjoy taking a hot bath, and I like all the, you know, fizzy bath bomb stuff, and so that's a treat at the end of the day. That's, you know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to myself where I can sit in a tub of hot water. It helps my joints, and, you know, and I enjoy it. So that's my self-care treat. I think everybody should have a self-care box. Fill it with the things you love.
It could be, you know what? A stuffed animal could be in that self-care box. Who cares? Who cares what people think? I've received, in the last year, less than a year, I've received 2 stuffed animals. And I love them. They sit on my nightstand right next to my bed every night. One of them is a little piglet, and one of them is a little Bexy Gwyn.
His name is Chubbs.
I call it Bexy Gwyn. Because I got it from my Bexy Gwyn.
Chubbs had to fly home with E.
I was so close to tears when you handed that to me, especially after you gave me the story behind it, its history. Yeah. I am so honored for that to be next to me on my nightstand every night. Like, you have no idea how that made me feel.
I know how good it made me feel to give him to you. There's nobody else in the world I would want to have him.
Aw. I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry.
I'm already going to.
See,
it's not a podcast unless I cry.
That is true.
This time I made myself do it.
All right. Mental health problems are a sign of weakness.
Oh my goodness, no.
Boy, these are rage-inducing myths. I'm
really are.
Seriously getting angry at these. Oh, and I did want to touch on one thing. When we talked about mental health issues are violent or dangerous or people with them, only about 7% of violent acts are committed by a person with symptoms of mental illness, yet they are 10 times more likely to be the victim of violence.
Yeah.
Oh, Alice has got angry, it looks like, about the mental health problems are a sign of weakness. She's on my family, 100% my family. And Kat was talking about your self-care box, unless Adam gets there first. That's what she was saying.
Oh, yes. He is famous for me running. I will run my bath and realize I've forgotten to grab a towel or a washcloth or some little thing, walk out of the bathroom to go get it, and the next thing I know, I walk back in there and he's butt naked in the tub. He's like, ooh, bubbles.
You know, I'm sitting here thinking, what would I put in my self-care box? I don't know what I would put in there. Probably a note to listen to For Miles and Miles by Midas would be in there. I'm such an audio person, you know, that my box wouldn't really necessarily be a box as it is. Notes to what to listen to or write music.
Your box doesn't have to be a literal box. Your box could be a playlist. You should make yourself a self-care playlist. Songs you absolutely love.
Honestly, when it comes to like baths, I hate baths. Largely because I'm so tall that I'm just not comfortable in a bathtub.
Right. I can understand that. I have short legs and I fit in a bathtub, so I like baths. You know, your self-care box doesn't have to be the same as mine. Everybody is different. So I still recommend I think it goes a long way to helping people, you know, just helping you feel better when you have this little something that you can turn to. And you know what? If you don't, here's a good idea. Go to your friends and your family. Ask them to write something positive that they see in you, or an affirmation or a compliment on a little piece of paper. Put it in a jar. Keep it for the bad days. When you're feeling down, you open the jar, you take out a paper, and you read something. Maybe you read a couple of them. And then, you know, you can put them back in when you're done and shake it up and have them there for when you're feeling down.
That's funny because when I used to work at Apple, in Apple Care doing the support side of things, I would get people that would be having a rough day because they got maybe 3 or 4 asshole customers in a row. It happens. And it has a way of really just beating you down. It puts you in a very bad state of mind. And what I would tell the people is like, hey, do me a favor. On your next break, go and read your surveys. Tell me what they say. Because I knew who these people were. I knew how good they were. I knew how much they truly cared. This was back when Apple was really particular about who they hired. It was about the quality of the person because the tech could be taught. But you can't teach a good person to be good. You can't teach a person to be good. Either they're good or they're not. Or they're a good fit or they're not a good fit. And every time I would have people come back to me afterwards and be like, dude, you just like really made my day. I was like, I made your day? How? Like, you made me go and read my surveys and I feel so much better. I was like, well, I didn't write those surveys. And I wasn't the person that inspired these people to write these surveys. That's all you. I'm just reminding you that you're good at what you do. That's it. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I was giving you the tools that you needed in order to go back and read why you're awesome at what you do. Why what you do matters.
Right.
I mean, I still remember the greatest survey response I ever heard. This lady, her logic board in the PC world, it's the motherboard. It died. Mm-hmm. I could tell it died based on the troubleshooting. Like, this it was either the power supply or the logic board died. I was like, that fucker's dead. And she was worried because she had just gotten a diagnosis of get your affairs in order cancer. And she had a manuscript that was almost completed that once she submitted it, because she's a very successful writer, would have got a large payday just for submitting the completed manuscript, which would have been to start her treatment for her cancer treatment. And then, of course, once the book's published and sells and gets the royalties and all that, that was her plan because she was a writer. And now she had no access to her book because she was afraid that it was gone. And I was like, look, so here are the options that you have. You could send in your laptop or your portable, and we can go ahead and fix it. But you're going to be without it for X amount of time. You could take it to an Apple retail store and have it repaired, or you could take it to one of the authorized service providers. A lot of people didn't like going to the service providers because it wasn't officially us. And I had to explain, look, they do everything that Apple does, and a lot of them will go above and beyond because that's how they want to distinguish themselves. They want to be better. Just call them. It doesn't cost you anything but a few minutes of your time to call and find out if someone could get a replacement. One of the authorized providers had this right logic board on hand in stock, was able to get their portable turned around in another 24 hours. And, of course, everything that was stored on her drive was still there, so she got her manuscript back. And by the time she got the survey, she also got a follow-up appointment with an actual oncologist, not her GP, and got a better diagnosis. What she wrote back about how my calmness was basically the only thing that kept her from having a major breakdown, and my confidence that we would be able to get her, that there was a good chance that we would be able to get her manuscript back, helped her to make it through, because she was considering ending her own life at that moment. And that me and my confidence and my calm manner is what got her to do all this stuff. And then she got the better diagnosis. No, you don't need to get your affairs in order. Yes, it's aggressive. No, you're not at stage 4. You're stage 2, which is still pretty bad. You have border on stage 3. But she's alive today. Her book got published. It paid for her medical care.
That's amazing.
And that's what I was like, it's amazing it's amazing where you can impact people's lives. And you never know it. You just never know. You never know what kind word can really help someone's day, week, month, year, life.
Right.
I mean, I saw what happened when a certain actor replied to you.
Yeah.
An actor.
An actor.
Not an A-lister.
Mm-mm.
Solid B-lister.
Oh, yeah.
One of those ones that if you know him, you know him.
Oh, yeah. And he was amazing to me. And I never thought for a moment in my life anyone would respond to that comment I posted on that thread. And there he was, right when I needed something. Which,
and because of him, I got to meet you.
Yeah. I was gonna say, one comment led to one of the greatest friendships I've ever had in my life. So
I still need to meet
I'm
him.
always grateful for that.
I still need to meet him.
He's awesome.
He changed my life too. And not just by meeting you.
Yeah, I know.
He and Bim, those two together, are my twin pillars for having completely changed my entire outlook on life. Completely transformed my outlook on life.
I just, going back to, the whole myth of mental illness, means you're weak. No. You know what people tell me all the time? You're so strong. How do you do that? How do you stay so strong? Do you know what I want? I dream of never being called strong or resilient again in my life because I'm exhausted by strength. I want support and softness, and I want ease, and I want to be amongst kin and not patted on the back for how well I can take a hit or for how many hits I can take and keep getting up. I'm absolutely exhausted by strength sometimes.
This is life, not prize fighting.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I know there are other people out there that feel the same way. Holding it all together when you feel like everything around you is crumbling apart is one of the hardest things you will ever do.
Yeah.
And I don't wish it upon anyone, but to those out there who feel like it, I know you can get through it. I honestly believe as humans we are strong enough to overcome these things. I've done it myself.
It's things that you never would have said when we first met. You would not have said this. This is not the Bexy that I first knew.
No. I was ready to give up when we first met. I was right on the edge.
You were just sitting there waiting for old Grim Reaper to show up, and you're like, okay, I'm ready.
Yep. Just take me right now because I wasn't strong. And I wasn't dealing with anything. I was hiding and burrowing, and I was burrowed down into a hole so deep I didn't think I would ever be able to claw my way out of it.
And that just reminded me of one of my favorite songs of all time, Alice in Chains' Down in a Hole. Down in a hole, and I don't know if I can be saved.
I felt that way. I was the silent girl. I never spoke up because I didn't think anybody would ever hear. No one wanted to listen to me.
I know of a few people that do.
And now look at me vomiting emotion all over a podcast, and I can't shut my mouth.
It's better than you having your butt vomit. I know that's a little bit of an inside joke that there was a video about the things that you never thought you would say until you become a parent. And one of them is, what do you mean your butt just vomited?
I'm never calling it that now.
Alice said, it is exhausting just to make it to tomorrow most days. Making it to tomorrow is an accomplishment. There you go. Wake up. I made it to today. That's one.
Right.
And that's not even a small one.
That's a huge win.
That's
the biggest win.
You ready for this one? You ready to get angry again? Asking a person about suicide will only increase their risk.
Bullshit.
Exact opposite. I'm sorry. Having been very suicidal multiple times in my life, exact opposite.
Yeah.
The fact is, asking someone about suicide intent lowers anxiety, opens up communication, and lowers the risk of an impulsive act. A lot of people that are ready to commit suicide are ready to do it because they don't feel that anybody cares. Just by asking, you show them that somebody cares. Alice is all, made it to today. Yeah, today's probably going to be a shit day, but hey, I'm here.
Right? It's the little victories. And then those little victories add up to bigger ones over time.
Exactly.
Baby steps are still steps.
Children cannot experience mental health problems. Bullshit.
I beg to differ.
Second grade E wanted to commit suicide. Yeah, because that's healthy in second grade.
Right. Because, yeah, that's really what you want. That's what you want to hear. You know, what are you, in second grade, you're what, like 6, 7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a gift pocket knife that I got for Christmas, and yeah, I had those intrusive thoughts. Little did I know that it was because of seasonal affective disorder. Yeah, you could suffer that at a very young age. I always felt, I liked Christmas, don't get me wrong. As a kid, of course I liked Christmas. I got gifts.
Right?
And I got to hang out with family that I rarely ever get to see. But at the same time, I was never truly joyous. Not really.
Oh. I have 2 really big angry myths right now.
Ooh, fire away.
If a person has a mental health condition, it means the person has low intelligence. Wow. That one really.
That one makes me want to lash out.
Yeah.
That makes me want to go back to the oldie on Twitter.
I saw red when I read this, because the fact of the matter is mental illness can affect anyone, regardless of intelligence, social class, or income level.
Yeah.
Anyone.
Alice has you got a big wow out of that one. And I mean, she also pointed out, I have people in groups who have said their first grader or second grader came home saying that the other kids have said they should kill themselves.
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder why people are starting to pull their kids out of public school. Just a thought. Because shit like that happens a lot, and there's not a lot that the teachers are doing about it. And I'm not saying all schools. There are some schools that are pretty fantastic. I happen to have a really awesome school that I'm in. The district itself kind of sucks, but this school's amazing. But yeah, I mean, wow.
Oh,
Alice did say a very good point. I think, if anything, a good majority of them are more intelligent. I don't think that intellect has anything to do with it. I mean, okay, people with really, really, really low intellect and no fault of their own tend to be some pretty happy people. I will say that.
Looking at them.
Yeah, so I will say that there's maybe a degree of that, but let's not pigeonhole everybody.
No. Let's not.
Okay, what's the other one that's going to piss us off?
Oh, you only need to take care of your mental health if you have a mental health condition. Really?
You only need to do maintenance on your car when your car breaks down.
Right? Because, you just buy the car and you never do anything to it. You never put air in the tires. You never put oil in it. You never get an oil change. You never change filters or anything like that until it just falls apart. And
the check engine light's just a dummy light. Ignore it.
Right.
Just ignore the red flag.
Don't forget to buy your case of blinker fluid.
I love that one. I love the blinker fluid joke.
I mean, honestly.
Alice is all, I mean, to be fair, that's kind of how I do my car. Yeah, but your car will last longer with regular maintenance. Maintenance, preventative. Like, I mean, right now in IT, it's finally caught on. Preventative maintenance keeps your computers running smoothly. Imagine that. Oh, man.
I mean, some of these things that I have read about today, they really do anger me very much. And it's, the sad thing is I keep finding more. I didn't think I was going to find this many things. But man, oh man.
People with mental health disorders can't hold a job or function well in normal life. I'm sorry. The vast majority of people that have mental health issues are perfectly functional members of society.
Yeah.
It just makes it a little bit harder. Doesn't make it impossible.
Right.
Then, yes, there are people who get some pretty extremely bad mental health and they can't hold down a job or they can't function well in normal life. Yes, that's true. But you know what else? People who have suffered catastrophic injuries have perfect mental health, but they still can't participate.
Right.
Birth defects. Perfect mental health, still can't participate.
Oh, here's one that really gets me too. Eating disorders only affect females. Ah.
What?
Yeah. What? No. Oh my God. Males currently account for 10 to 25% of all cases of anorexia and bulimia nervosa, as well as 25% of cases of binge eating disorders.
Have you ever talked to a male stripper or a male model? And you will find it more often than...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying all male models and all male strippers, but they're the ones that have a very strict body conscious state of mind because of what they do. And yeah, those disorders can pop up because you have a hyper focus on your body.
Another one that goes right along hand in hand with this. Eating disorders are a lifestyle choice. No,
No.
no, they are not.
You didn't choose to have a bad relationship with food.
No. As someone who I have a very complicated relationship with food because I am an emotional eater. I recognize this in myself. And I know that I have to be careful, especially when I'm in a heightened emotional state. And it doesn't matter what the emotional state is. It can be happy, it can be angry, it can be sad, it can be depressed. My first thought is to always turn to food. And I know people are going to say, oh, typical fat girl. And yeah, I am a big girl.
But you've lost more weight than I weigh.
Yes, I have.
And I'm not a small dude.
I lost like 1.5 of you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, I can't help but celebrate that.
I'm still celebrating that. And every time I go to the doctor and he tells me I weigh a little less than I did the time before, I'm still celebrating that. And, it took me a while to realize that I was one of those people that was like, I knew I was fat and I knew I was miserable, but I didn't stop eating. Until the day it clicked in my head that I'm literally going to eat myself to death if I continue down this path. And so it was hard. And I didn't cut out the things that I loved. I just cut down my portion sizes.
And that's amazing how easy that is. That's how I've lost 8% of my body weight since the beginning of the year. Because I've cut down on my portions. That's it. That's all I've changed.
I still eat. I eat stuff that's, admittedly, it's not good for me. I love stuff like that. I'm always
brisket.
Will, but I just don't eat as. Oh my God, brisket is so good. I just don't eat as much of it.
Deep fried brisket bites. Those were amazing.
They are amazing.
I love me some donuts. I love me some donuts. I used to eat a bag of Hostess donuts a day. And then people go, oh, no wonder you're diabetic. Shut up. My diabetes is genetic. I just didn't do myself any favors.
Right. It's like, I realized that I'm always going to have issues losing the weight. Thank you, Hashimoto's. It does make it increasingly difficult to lose weight. And I have plateaued at an area and I have stayed right about there for a couple years. But I love myself more than I ever have right now. And I am perfectly okay with my body the way it is.
Exactly. And
would I like to lose more? Yes, I would. I would love to lose more.
That is a healthy body positive attitude right there.
But I am not going to cause damage to myself in order to do it. No more starvation. There were times in my life where I would literally eat nothing but lettuce and lemon and still gain weight. So no more starvation, no more any of that. It's, 3 meals a day and, not big portions or anything like that. And I'm doing a lot better with that attitude.
Yeah, and again, I mean,
no,
I'm not trying to attack the whole body positive thing.
Right.
I'm saying that the people out there that get offended that someone wants to drop to a healthy weight, you're a problem. You're trying to prevent someone from getting healthy. You're a problem. Like all the people that attacked Adele.
Right.
Like Adele was pretty. She's gorgeous now. I'm sorry. She is. I mean, say what you will. I don't care. She's healthier. Yeah. She understood that her weight was a health issue. It was a concern. She was concerned about it. She was never against being fat. She admitted that she loved to cook and she loved to eat. But she took a healthy approach to it. She accepted that that's who she was, but she didn't convince herself that she has to stay that way.
Right. And see, there was a part of me that thought I deserved to be as big as I was. I deserved all the ridicule that came with it. I deserved all the pain. And once I started to turn around my attitude on that, it's amazing how much happier I was. I am sorry. I was not happy as big as I was, and I was over 600 pounds, and it was bad.
Yeah, I remember
You
seeing you back there. You couldn't see your eyes.
no.
And you didn't want to see your eyes because your eyes were dead. Sorry, it's true. Didn't want to see them.
They were. But
Then I started seeing that light in your eyes, and I wanted to see them all the time.
I you know, it's one of those things. It took a lot of work, and there are days it's still hard for me. I will always have a complicated relationship with food, and I recognize this. But I want to be better. And on the days when I'm not as good as I hope to be, I don't hate myself for it. Self-hatred doesn't do you any good at all.
No. I'm still learning that lesson. I'm starting to learn don't hate aspects of me. Except that they're not great aspects of me and that I can make them better. It's not easy.
Exactly. Not easy at all.
And honestly, this podcast has been a major part of why I'm starting to make that change.
It's not easy to do. It's not easy to turn that lens around and look at yourself and get introspective and judge yourself against everything and be like, oh man, I am really more messed up than I ever thought I was. And that's how I felt personally when I started looking at my life and the things that made me unhappy and what I could change. And a lot of it had to do with changing my attitude. Because I held on to some of these myths about mental health.
Yeah.
It's how I was taught.
Oh, here's one. You ready to get angry again?
Oh.
This one's a good one. Stop calling it mental illness. Call them mental disorders because it's not a real illness.
Oh.
The look on your face was, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No, it's not a disorder. Do you know what a disorder is? I have an autoimmune disorder, but I also have mental health problems too.
Yeah, I have mental illness.
I have mental illness.
Mental illness does not have me now,
I have mental illness caused by my autoimmune disorder.
Funny how that can go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Feeling powerless about your own body because of a disorder. Yeah, I'm sure that can fuck with your mental health.
to no fucking end.
I mean, and again, it's one of those, I'm not minimizing what you're being, you got, like, I'm just saying, acknowledgement, you got it worse than me. And I'm saying, having the monogenomic diabetes fucking sucks.
It does.
And it kind of impacted my mental health as well, because I can't eat the things that I love as much as I would love to, like I could as a kid.
Right? It's like, you can't go to the store and buy that king-size Snickers bar and wolf it down in, 2 seconds because...
I mean, I can.
You can, but not without, consequences to your blood sugar and leading you feeling like shit for the rest of the day.
For me, it's not a you're not you when you're hungry, have a Snickers. I'm like, no, I'm not me after I eat a Snickers. Those blood sugars spike and asshole comes out. I still remember, and I'm sure this has a big part of why my first marriage failed, because there was so much undiagnosed and untreated and didn't understand. And, we got married young. Like, we were high school sweethearts. But I remember standing... my ex and I, we went to Target to pick up some stuff, and she picked up a package of batteries. And I had just had a venti caramel frappuccino.
Oh my.
So you can imagine what my blood sugars were like.
Yeah.
Through the roof. Now, normally, I don't care about batteries. I don't care what they're being used for. Personal toys, I don't care. Why would I be threatened? She married me. And I was unreasonably angry over it. For some reason, for that day in my head, for that moment, it was she was picking the batteries over me. And there was a part where I was on the side of the street. She came back to pick me up after kicking me out of the car and me calling her. And I remember the window was down and I was screaming at the top of my lungs, I don't give a fuck, as she drove away. While I had tears pouring down my face. You know, I was in this unbelievable blind rage. And I couldn't figure out why. There was that small voice in me that was screaming at me that I'm being a fucking idiot. You know, so what if she got batteries? We needed batteries for a lot of things. So fucking what? And so what if she uses a toy? You're still getting some. I'm not me when I have too much sugar. And when you lose absolute and complete control over yourself in that regard, that's about as bad as having disassociation issues. In some ways, it's worse because I'm fully aware of what's happening and I can't stop it. It's like the real me has taken a back seat to observe and to criticize.
You know, it's one of those things. It's people, things that affect your mental state that you wouldn't, necessarily think that do. And when you know that things like that can affect the way that you think and the way that you act, then hey, maybe it's not such a good idea for me to have so much sugar.
Yeah. I had to do the adult thing and stop consuming so much. All right, Bexy, I got this for a little bit. She has to take a potty break. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this next one. I hope that she's still listening at least. This one's a great one. Bad parenting causes mental illness. It does no favors, but it doesn't cause it. Severe trauma, yeah, that could absolutely... Trauma is difficult to deal with. Trauma makes life more difficult to deal with in general. Because things that trigger your past trauma, yeah, that's the reason why they call it trigger. But it doesn't cause mental illness. That's like saying that vaccines cause autism. No. The difference is that vaccines don't even affect autism. Bad parenting can affect mental health, but it's not going to create the problems. Not really. Not exclusively, for sure. Ooh, Alice, right on. Unpopular opinion. Bad parenting, a lot, I feel, are undiagnosed or in denial. Like, the parents have their own issues, which makes them bad parents. Yeah, I could see that. And since mental illness is hereditary, and in many cases it is. Brilliant, Alice. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, I hope Bexy's listening. I'll have to refresh this one. I'll visit it back when she comes back. But mental illness is just an excuse for poor behavior. Oh, yes, because everyone that has... it's just we're just trying to get away with it. That's all. I sat there and screamed at the side of the road because my blood sugars were out of control. I was depressed. My anxiety was through the roof. I was suffering from not being able to see my family ever because my family lived 600 miles away. I had no friends. The only family I had was my wife and our 2 kids. I was suffering climate shock, culture shock, population shock. From someone that's normally really close to the family to having no family. Yeah, that was just... I'm just trying to give myself an excuse for why I did what I did. No, I admit, I fucked up. there's a lot of factors that went into it. Had I not had that Frappuccino, that whole thing very likely would have gone a completely different way. Like a lot of things in my life that I can look at now and look at the back and go, ooh. So yeah, so that memorable holy shit moment came to you by eating an entire box of Captain Crunch cereal. That's awesome. So Alice saying, I am a bad parent. I say terrible shit to my kids. I always apologize. I try to steer them towards why I am being how I am. I am not in therapy. I haven't gotten medication. I am untreated and struggling at the moment. And I always tell them I am the one who's broken, that they are not the problem. Now, you're in a very, very tough position, Alice. Like, I do not envy you where you're at. I don't think that you're a bad parent. I think that you may have bad moments. I got to see you firsthand with your kids. I wouldn't call you a bad parent. Not by a country mile. But you were in a very tough spot. You're not in therapy. You're not on medication. You're severely undertreated. And yeah, you are struggling. Does it forgive you for lashing out like that? Well, no. But understanding the underlying circumstances as to why you may be lashing out is critical. Being able to clearly express that to your children and hope that they understand is critical. It can help lessen whatever may come down the road for them. I mean, there's a number of times that I've talked to my dad. I've called my dad multiple times throughout the years, addressing my demons. And I got a lot of them with my dad. I did. I don't think I have any single demon left between us. I think we've slaughtered them all. And I'm very thankful that my dad is the man that he is, because he did take the call and he didn't get combative on the conversations. He listened. He apologized for his part of it. And he explained why he did what he did, or what the situation was around it, or, you know, the extenuating circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
He owned up his part of it, and he wasn't excusing it off. He was just explaining. And that is such a huge thing for me. I don't look at it as you're excusing your behaviors. I look at it as you're explaining your behaviors.
I was about.
And as Austin said in the last episode, the best apology is changed behavior. My dad has exudes that. He is not the same man that raised me.
The fact that you apologize and steer your kids towards why you might have said something that was hurtful, or, you know, and you're trying to do your best to explain to them what happened and why you had that moment. Alice, you're amazing for that. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you have a very good bead on who you are.
The fact that they're able to call you on it every time and they have no fear of you yelling at them. You're wonderful. And this is coming from somebody who dare not speak a word.
Yeah. And what Bexy was just addressing is that Al said, neither kid is scared of me. Both know that I love them and say crap things. They are able to call me on it every time with no fear from me yelling. That is amazing. My God. I wish everybody had parents that could be that honest with themselves and their kids. And have the patience and understanding to be able to let their kids say their part. And be like, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I did that. I own that. I did that. Would you like to at least get an understanding as to why this may have happened? That's amazing. That is amazing. That is top tier parenting. I'm sorry, that is.
It really is. I you are breaking a cycle. And you ought to applaud yourself for that.
Exactly.
Because you know what? Your kids are going to grow up, and in turn, if they decide to become parents, they're going to be better parents because you were a better parent.
I mean, that's my dad came from the household with the that whole old Greatest Generation. Come home, okay? I need the report. Which kids do I need to beat?
Mm.
Never heard "I love you" from his parents. He told my sister and me that he loves us all the time. Still does. He refused to be the same. He refused to perpetuate that generational cycle. And I felt that I could come to my dad with things, even as a kid. I had to pick my moments. In the middle of it was the worst time in the world because I'd get in, I'd be in trouble. But he did the best he could with what he knew in a society that still didn't address mental health as health. He did the best he could with what he had, and I am better for it. And I am doing the best I can with what I have for my kids, and I hope that they're better for it, and I hope they continue. I hope they continue to break that cycle. That is my father's legacy. He broke the cycle. Alice, that's your legacy. You broke the cycle. My dad said enough is enough. Alice, you said enough is enough. And that's all you can really ask for, is that your kids are better off for it. And that they continue the healing process. It took generations to get here. It's going to take us generations to get out. My dad's my hero. Hands down. My dad is my hero. I look up to him like you wouldn't believe. I love and respect that man. He has shown me what it means to be strong without being hard. Hard breaks. Strong can bend. He's taught me what it means to have integrity. To have accountability. My mom took a traumatic brain injury. My dad, there's never a question he was not leaving her. Nobody would have blamed him. He stuck by her side. He showed me what love is. Oh, they bicker all the time. They've always bickered. I think that they're just happy when they bicker. Honestly, that's just part of their relationship. But the dedication is there. There wasn't anything that my sister and I were left needing. Our needs were always met. And a lot of our wants, too. We weren't spoiled. He would have if he could have. I have no doubts about that. Yeah, he's my hero. I, to this day, want to just be a fraction of who he is, while still being me. Yeah, Alice is all, bickering isn't always bad. Roasting, I feel, is healthy. Oh yeah, you know I love you if I roast you. If I'm nice to you 24/7, 365, and I've known you for a long time, I don't like you. That's just all there is to it. But did you hear the two that I had to say there, Bexy? The two myths? Bad parenting causes mental illness, and mental illness is just an excuse for poor behavior.
Yeah, I am just in awe of those, because I agree with Alice. I think that a lot of parents have gone through, mental issues, and they have, a mental illness that's undiagnosed, or they've just kept it to themselves because they didn't know how to deal with it, and it comes out in surprising ways. I've found this out. And kind of know firsthand. That's why I think what Alice is doing with her kids is so amazing.
Yeah.
I've had that firsthand lash out from nowhere, don't know why things are being said to me, but I never got explanations and I never got an apology. I was supposed to be seen and not heard, and
God, I
you
hate
know,
that one. That one pisses me off so much.
me too, because kids need to be kids.
Exactly.
They need to have the freedom to imagine and play and be loud and messy.
And explore and make mistakes and learn from them.
Learn.
Get hurt. Get sick. They're supposed to. It's what life is about.
Dirt. Kiss a bug, you know?
Right? Toss a bug into a spider web, see what happens. Of course, then you become like me. Yeah, that was one of my uncles, threw a grasshopper into a spider web. I thought it was my dad, and I remembered later on that it was actually one of my uncles that threw the grasshopper into a spider web, and I was hooked ever since. Was it a phase? I don't know. Saw that when I was in kindergarten, and I have a pet black widow in my office next to me right now. Pretty long fucking phase. Oh, Jax is singing a song. I love my mommy. I'm going to hug and kiss her and squish her. Can I sing it again, Mama? Of course. And Alice, I hurt for your inner child. I'm sorry your inner child, when you were actually a child, didn't get the chance to be a child. I got in trouble with one of my relatives, one of my aunts, because I taught their kids. We were playing in the mud, and we made Tootsie Rolls they looked like cat poop. Then we started calling them Tootsie Rolls. You know, it's a euphemism. And she got so mad because she's like, with the way that my mom and dad raised me, you know, my sister and me, we were free to explore. We were free to experiment. We were free to question. We were free to do a lot of things. And she wanted her kids to be, you know, they had the super strict helicopter parent and all that. Yeah, now she's like, you did a good job with your kids. It was a major point of contention between my dad and his sister for a lot of years. Like, holy shit, a lot of years. Now, yeah, they're tight again. You know, it shows if you allow your kids to go and explore, it's a good thing. Oh, her kids, they rebelled hard when they got through high school and out of high school. Now, they're well-adjusted, settled down, they're doing fantastic. But that rebellion was strong. I didn't really rebel. My sister rebelled. I didn't really rebel. I didn't have a need to. I didn't feel like I was being treated poorly. My kids, my older kids, their teenage years, I had no issues. It was easy. Because I have always allowed them to question. I allowed them to come to me and be like, hey, how come you said to do this? Well, what about this and this and this? You know, we can talk. They have to understand that there are times that there are non-negotiables. There are times that it's because I said so. Because that's just the way life is. But oh my God, I had a super tight relationship with my kids. And my little ones, I'm looking forward to what's coming.
Oh my God, they're so cute.
Oh, my little girl is a beast on the baseball field. Holy shit, she's beasting out. And my littlest, my boy, he's struggling with hitting. I mean, he's 5 years old, and they're already doing pitch. He's not even in T-ball anymore. It's coach pitch. And he's struggling to hit the ball because he just can't generate the bat speed. So it's really hard for him to get a hit. And he's really getting down on himself because he really wants to get a hit. And I had to sit down, and it's like, if you ever watch me when I'm with the baseball team, I'm at picking up the kids in an after-school program, wherever I'm at, whenever a kid comes to talk to me, I will drop down to their level. I just do. I always have, and I always will. So I dropped down to his level. I'm like, dude, bud, come on, talk to me. What's going on? And he's so just mad. He's like, I'm not good for the team. I can't get a hit. I'm like, dude, you are great for the team. Like, you may not get a hit right now, but you will get your hit eventually. It will happen. The more you practice, the better your chances are getting that hit. You just need to practice. But you know what you do better than most of the kids on your team? As a matter of fact, you do it better than all the kids on the team. Your hustle when you're on defense is unmatched. That ball comes anywhere near you, I know you're going to get there first. Because you always do. And you're going to throw it as hard as you can in the right direction. Because you always do. You allowed us to get a win because you got the ball and you took it to your base and tagged it in third base to get the third out because of your hustle. It's like, dude, you do a lot for this team. There's more to baseball than just hitting. Oh, hitting's the fun part. And you'll get there. Picked him up, and he got a hit. It was only in practice.
Yay.
It was only in practice, but still, he got a hit in practice.
It's a hit.
It's a hit. He was mad because all he did was foul balls. And he got a hit. He hit that ball right back at me.
Awesome.
So damn proud of him. Meanwhile, my little girl, like I said, she's 7, and she's beasting. She's the fastest one on the team. There's only one other kid that's beating her, and like, yeah, as far as like who's the most skilled and most, like who's your top player? Well, my daughter's number 2. Number 1's number 1 because he's been playing for 5 years. This is her first year playing. His technique is flawless. Like his fielding, it is textbook. His batting stance and batting mechanics are textbook. So yeah, he's good. My little girl, who's just raw talent, is right on his ass. Proud daddy.
I love that. I love it, and I love hearing, the stories about the parents who are breaking the cycle of all of the
shit from the past.
Yes. Makes my heart happy.
Same. You know what? I think we're at a good stopping point.
I think so. I think we've discussed quite a few different
myths.
Myths that definitely needed to, be brought to light about mental illness. And you know what? If you're out there, you heard this show, you have a story that might relate to one of these, you want to come on, drop us an email.
Yeah.
We'd love to let you share your story. It goes to anybody out there.
guest@mimental.net. It doesn't matter if you do it plural or singular. We got you covered. And we'll get you on. We do have some pretty good. I have a couple of people lined up. Next week's guest is going to be amazing. I'm talking with another podcast right now to try to get them on. There was a video that they published that had my jaw hang open, talking about narcissists. It was one of the most amazing videos I've ever seen, and this guy tells it like it is. Amazing. And I was like, dude, any chance we could get you on the podcast? And we're negotiating. It looks like he's going to do it. Looks like we may do a crossover. I don't know. We may do a crossover. At the very least, he's going to come on our podcast because the dude's amazing.
All I can say about narcissist is if it looks like a duck and talks like a swan, it's a narcissist.
Wow. All right, and Alice, thank you for all of your input tonight. Like, invaluable.
Oh my
This is
so amazing.
This is why we have the chat room. And Kat, thank you for being on. As always, you are the most consistent listener that we have in our chat room. Hands down, bar none. You're always there for you. Love you for that. Still going to bother you about getting on the podcast, even though I know it's fruitless. It's become a thing. Outside of that, I'm E.
I'm Betsy.
And we'll catch you guys next week.